Good afternoon, everybody. Today's date is the 17th of February and the time is 1:38ish, I think. After last week, not very much happening in the skies, this week things turn a little bit more busy, let us say. Um, and we start the week with Mercury turning backwards, so going into retrograde phase. He, I'm after that after all, has been slowing down for the last few weeks. So you might have felt that coming with the beginnings of delays and not being able to get things done as quickly as you might. And obviously that gathers momentum now that Mercury is going backwards across the sky. And with it being in the sign of Pisces as well, which is not very fond of being, this can only add to the confusion and the fog. I always think of Neptune ruled Pisces as being very foggy, and with Mercury there is this foggy headedness. So it can make it very difficult to get your point across. It can make things very confusing. It just adds that whole level of disorganized to things that Mercury retrograde brings anyway. So it kind of like is a bit of a double whammy having Mercury retrograde in the sign of Pisces, just because of the fact Mercury Pisces anyway is quite a difficult place to have it and does cause for some foggy headedness. Before I go much further with this, a few people mentioned this to me. Please note that if you're watching this on Instagram and you want to listen to the whole of the video, please go to YouTube to DWIS3. So if you Google DWIS, you look at the search bar on DWIS3, so DEEWHIZZ number 3. You will find the full videos, and all my videos will be there as well for you. So make sure that you're getting the full story and that you're getting all the Astro juice for this week. So anyway, yes, Mercury retrograde in Pisces. So the thing about Mercury retrograde, and most people know about it now, most people are aware of it, is that people tend to get too frightened of it, and rather than just live with it. It happens 3 times in a year, so you know, something that's we have on quite a regular basis. But the thing, like with anything, is to be prepared for it. So if you know you're going on journeys, and you know that you're having to go on those journeys during a Mercury retrograde period, just allow extra time for it. Plan for the delay. You know, you might not get one, you might be pleasantly surprised, but it's better to plan for delay rather than rush in and then finding out that you can't get to where you need to be on time. So, I mean, like in my job, I can't go away from the fact I travel quite a lot. And also as a Mercury ruled person, as a Sun in Gemini person, Mercury retrogrades do affect me very much. But I always make sure that I plan in that extra time and warn people in advance as well if I'm going to meetings and such, like that there might be delays along the way. I think part of that's just living with Northern Rail anyway, to be honest. But yeah, you can't stop the world from turning. You've got to get on with your life. You've got to do the things you need to do. So when we do have this period of just over 2 weeks of Mercury being retrograde, just allow for extra time if you are traveling. Also, the one that I always tell people about is do not buy anything electrical during this period or the shadow period following it for the following 2 weeks, because you'll have nothing but trouble with it. And I think I said just generally under anything Mercury in Pisces, I would avoid any sort of new technologies and whatnot. So yeah, it isn't the best time for those sorts of purchases. So just if you do have to, you do have to, you know, but be aware of the fact that you might end up taking it back at some point, because you're going to have problems with it. So yeah, be aware of that as well. If you are dealing with information and you are relying on information coming through, you wait for a deal to be brought to fruition. If you've got anything legal pending, be prepared for it to take longer than you thought. If it's already in motion, if it started prior to the Mercury retrograde, then you might not have as much trouble as if you start it during the Mercury retrograde period. So if you're waiting, if you've already started something and something's like well underway, you might find that maybe a couple of days gets delayed on it, but it will come through. Whereas if you start things during a Mercury retrograde period, you can guarantee it's going to take a lot longer than you thought it was going to. It's not necessarily that decisions won't go your way when Mercury is retrograde. It's just there can be confusion around information given, that people might not interpret things in the way that you want them to interpret things, or it's like, say, just things getting lost in the post, emails not getting sent, the essential information not being there. So just be prepared for that, and say double check everything. That's always the secret in Mercury retrograde times. Whatever you do, double check everything, allow for extra time, and make sure that everyone is clear, not just you thinking that they are clear on what it is you want them to do. So just double checking in with them. Right then, you said you do that for me by Thursday. Just tell me again, right? What are you actually going to do for me by Thursday? So that the message is not only getting to them, but they've interpreted it in the way in which you want them to interpret it. And the same goes for anything you receive as well in terms of information. So make sure that you're writing things down, making sure that you've got the right end of the stick with things. So yeah, double checking, doing everything twice if need be, and allowing that extra bit of time. The other thing, I think the positive thing about the Mercury retrograde period is it is a very reflective time. And again, in a sign like Pisces, which enjoys reflection and meditation and kind of operates in the other realm, if you like, it is the perfect opportunity to just think about where you're at with things at the moment, what you're wanting to achieve for the future, write stuff down in your diary, meditating on particular issues. Any of that kind of self-reflection is the perfect thing to do during this retrograde. And taking yourself away from the everyday run-of-the-mill stuff, to have that quiet contemplation is a really good idea at this time. You can get a lot done by not doing anything very much, or seem to be doing anything very much on the surface. All the work that you need to do during the Mercury retrograde period is internal work. So, like I say, writing stuff down, contemplating, meditating. If you can retreat away to somewhere quiet, do so. Have quiet, reflective moments during your day if you can. Be by the sea if you can. Obviously, Mercury in Pisces lends itself to being near the ocean. And some people describe the method of Mercury in Pisces communication is like sonar. It doesn't work on the same levels as your regular kind of Mercury communication. It is you're using other senses to receive the messages and interpret them. So it might not be words sometimes that are needed. It might be physical language, giving somebody a hug, holding them. It could be just listening to somebody. It could be sort of using music or something of that nature to communicate how you feel about something or how you feel about someone. But yes, use those alternative channels to communicate what it is you want during this time. So we have the Mercury retrograde period with us until the 10th of March, and then after that, the following 2 weeks will be the shadow period, where it will be until it returns to where it was prior to the retrograde. So it actually dips back into Aquarius for the last little bit of the retrograde as well. But generally speaking, when you get to the halfway point, and particularly this year, because it's actually the Mercury is going to be in a Cazimi position with the Sun, which will be next week, which we'll go into then in more detail, you kind of get that aha moment. That's what this means. This is what's going on with this. You might not be able to fix it completely yet, but you might get that little moment of, yep, I know what I'm doing with this now. So that'll be, say, halfway through the retrograde, and that will happen next week. So to add to our very Neptunian flavour of things that are around us and our communication, the Sun moves into Pisces on the 19th, so in a couple of days' time, and she will bring more of that kind of dreamy, reflective quality to life. So if you want to see where that hits for you, have a look at your chart. You can always go to astro.com, like I've told you before, put in all your birth details, and that will then bring up your chart for you to have a look at, and you'll be able to look on the wheel there as to which house the sign of Pisces rules. And obviously, wherever that house is, it will be what will be highlighted for the next month. So you can use that energy of where it is. So for example, if it's in your 4th house, which is the house of home, it might be a good time to spend time at home and having those kind of reflections and that kind of reflective period, and just to maybe feel like you're doing a bit of nesting during that period, wanting to shut out the world or just have those very close to you with you, rather than being hustling and bustling, socialising, being out there. So it really depends on where it's at for you as to which area of your life it will be highlighted. But generally speaking, when the Sun is in Pisces, it is a good chance, a good opportunity to do those kind of self-reflections. Say, go out and be by the sea, do Neptunian activities. Say, music's a lovely Neptunian way to communicate and just to be around music. Obviously, it seems fitted as well that St. Patrick's Day would be in the month of Pisces, as the Neptunian vibe and alcohol go very much together. And Ireland is a Piscean country as well, which is probably why it's known for its drinking culture, whether that is just the stereotype and the myth, I think, rather than the reality. So Sun into Pisces on the 19th, followed by on the 20th, you've got Jupiter sextile to Neptune, which is also in Pisces and is one of the ruling planets of Pisces. So we have the Jupiter, the planet of good fortune. We know already that Jupiter doesn't like being in Capricorn. We know that very well. But it can get... you can have some nice joyous moments from the Capricorn to Neptune, because Neptune softens off Capricorn vibes a little bit. So you've got Jupiter, our lovely planet of beneficence and joy and expansion, activated by this lovely Neptunian spirit. So I would say on that day with it, which is the 20th, which is the Thursday, again, if you can find ways in which you can enjoy some kind of philosophical debate or having time spent talking about abstract concepts, it will certainly add to that kind of overall Piscean Neptunian vibe that is around at the moment. and you might find that Jupiter brings you some good ideas. And obviously, being in the sign of Capricorn, they are constructive ideas. So I think the Neptune and Jupiter have a lot to offer each other. They're both imaginative and creative in their own ways. They're very expansive. So, you know, writing down the thoughts, the ideas that come along on Thursday might seem like too big to contemplate right now, or maybe seem outlandish and extravagant, but you might find a way of paring that down, given time, into something that's actually real and constructive. So you got to go big to go small. There's no point in dreaming a dream that's a small little dream. You might as well go for the excuse me, the large expansive dream, and then bring it down to some kind of functional reality. You know, go big to go small rather than the other way around. So yes, a really nice time to be reflective on Thursday and get those ideas, however outlandish, written down. Following on from that, on the 21st, which is the Friday, you've got Mars trine to Uranus, and this is, again, I think this is a lovely aspect because you've got the two Earth planets, Mars in Capricorn, trine into Uranus in Taurus. So Uranus, while it can be a little weird and a little strange and a little outlandish and outrageous, in hooking up in a trine aspect to Mars in Capricorn makes it workable to me. It's like, say, it can, the Mars in Capricorn will conventionalize, if there is such a word, the edges, the weird edges of Uranian thoughts and ideas. So again, it sort of conjures up in mind, sort of like, say, wild thoughts, ideas, things coming out of the blue, but then be turned into something workable. So, I mean, this aspect might bring something unexpected into your life that could actually oil the wheels for you to be able to move forward in a practical way. So it could be, you know, come in the form of resources, money, things, or it could come in the form of people helping you to, say, grease the wheels, move things forward. We're talking Mars here, we're talking driving, we're talking progress. So whichever way this sort of odd little thing might come to you, and say often with Uranus it is unexpected, it will turn out to be of positive benefit because with it being there in that trine aspect to Mars. I think that of all the Capricorn activity, the Mars here over the next sort of 6 weeks or so is really positive and can drive things forward, and it will come into conjunction with Saturn and Pluto, and as obviously as time goes on and it gets further into the sign. And I think that when we do get there, we will see some of these changes. We'll find a way of sort of getting into place and slotting into place and being able to make progress and move forward with them. I was listening to somebody talking about the other day, because obviously Capricorn rules boundaries, and it rules and laws and things like that, and people setting out new boundaries and setting out where those boundaries are, either physical boundaries in terms of, you know, you think about Brexit, you think about, you know, in Ireland, possibly the unification of Ireland, you think of also, if you want to look at has happened with the royal family, and Meghan and Harry deciding that they wanted new rules and wanted to go off and do something different. So you might see some progress there in some of these things as we move, as Mars moves through the sign. Things will start to get moving, so that some of this detail can be put into place. So whatever the Saturn-Pluto conjunction has brought for you, so if you think back to just after Christmas and the beginning of January, and what was happening at that time, what were the issues that were coming to the fore, you will see progress in those areas. It will seem less obstructive. Things will say I think of like the grease on the wheels be moving along and being able to go forward. And then on the Saturday, you have got the Sun sextiling Uranus. So again, this idea of new ideas, new ways forward, unexpected but nice surprises. So being able to just feeling like that things can finally move, and obviously we are coming to the end of some of this Capricorn activity, at least for the moment, until it re-emerges again later in the year. But you know, once we start to see Saturn shift signs into Aquarius, we'll be able to see where we're heading, and what are the things we will keep from this time and the things we will throw away. Mars comes up to the South Node as well this weekend. So again, this idea of throwing away, discarding, it might feel a bit like things are going down the drain with it being South Node, and say that idea of getting rid, and so it might feel like energy down the drain, but it's not going to be wasted. I think with all this forward-looking Uranian energy, with all the contemplation from the Neptunian energies, I think that whatever it is that you lose at this time was meant to be lost anyway, and that, you know, if you were still hanging on to it, it is now finally time to let that go, and also to start thinking of forward motion. Yes, you might be losing some things, but what are you gaining? What are you moving towards? What are the best things that are going to be there for you? So even if you've lost people, relationships have gone, or jobs have gone, and things like that, that might have been harsh and difficult for you, there is a brightness there, and there is that kind of, if you're thinking forward, thinking about, you won't get back what you've lost, but there are other things that you can gain, and life is sending you off in this new direction that could bring so much more to your life than you've ever had, if you're willing to listen and to take notice and to try, and you're doing things a little differently. And that applies just as much to you as a person as it does to the world in general. So the final little bit of the puzzle for this week is the new moon in Pisces on the 23rd, and so that's on the Sunday. So I would say that would be the time where you set your intentions, you get your new moon candles in beautiful colours, of aquamarine colours, anything sea coloured, get your shells out, get you know, if you can get to by the sea and to do a little ritual by the sea, do that, or just by any kind of running water. You know, you can write down what it is you want to, and let the river take the messages away downstream, so that you can send them out there into the universe. If you don't want to actually write things down, you can have them in your head, you can think about them, or you can say the words out loud and just put something into the water as a symbol. Then that works just as well in my mind. Everything when you do ritual is about intention, about setting intention, about focusing your energy on a particular thing. And it doesn't matter how you do it and what you do. Obviously, you know, aligning colours and stones and things like that with planetary energies helps you to focus more, but it's whatever those things mean to you. So if you associate, you say, Neptune more with music than with anything else, then make sure that you've got some music on that reflects that, and be thinking about your intentions while you're listening to that music. if you're a very colour orientated person, say anything aquamarine would be, so those lovely blue green colours of the sea would be perfect. So, you know, you could have fabric on your altar table, or the colours of candles, or both, stones that reflect those colours, anything, so shells, say mermaids, octopuses, anything that you like that you associate with the Neptunian vibe, you can then put up onto your altar while you set your intentions for the month, and get those things out into the world. It's the beginning of the end of a lot of this stuff now, and like I say, in the next, once we get rid of out of this Mercury retrograde period, this sort of reflective time, and we get into seeing the Saturn into Aquarius in March, then we can say we can begin to sort of get that head of steam so that we can move forward and, you know, even painfully say goodbye to what's happened. We're saying goodbye to it. We're saying this is this period of our lives, this last 2 or 3 years that have been incredibly difficult for some people. This period is now coming to an end, and we can start to see the wood for the trees and where we'd like to head. So hopefully have yourselves a good week. I shall speak to you all next week. Don't forget D-Wiz3 for the full videos, and spread the word. Okay, thank you very much. Bye-bye.